Okay, thanks to everybody for being here. Exciting week this week. Finally, game week of 2019 is here, and certainly there's been, for not only us, but for every college program around the country, you point to this week for so long, dating back to last winter, all spring and summer. Everything revolves around the beginning of the season, and certainly it's an exciting time. It's a very exciting time here in Greenville. The buzz around our program here locally in the city of Greenville and regionally with Eastern North Carolina is something that's very motivating. I think it's very encouraging to our players, and certainly there's a buzz around our football program and the football offices this week. So got off to a good start with a very enthusiastic Sunday practice in our first game prep for NC State this week. The guys had yesterday off, their NCAA day off, and then we'll pick back up this afternoon with meetings and practice. So big week for us. Great challenge coming this Saturday. Traveling over to Raleigh to face a very good Wolfpack program. We were able to face Coach Dorn and his team last year in the opener at James Madison, and I told him before the game, just watching him and being familiar with that program and being very familiar with recruiting in the state of North Carolina as we've recruited it everywhere we've been. I respected very much the job he's done building a very solid program there, the job he's done recruiting in state, and the consistency with which they have played at. And so I know that they had a great year last year, going to a bowl game and winning 9 games in the ACC. They did have some graduation on offense. They returned the bulk of their defense back. They have had some changes on their coaching staff. But as always, I expect to see a very solid roster, and we expect to face one of the better teams in the ACC this Saturday at 12 o'clock for the noon kickoff. So, great opportunity for us. Certainly it'll be the first test that we have and the first opportunity we have to find out exactly where our program is as we start a new era of Pirate football. So, any questions from the media?
Coach, look at the depth chart here. First look at it. Noah Henderson, Quan Phillips, 2 freshmen, set to start. Especially that right tackle. What kind of stood out with Noah to get that?
Well, certainly Noah is someone that has the stature. I mean, he's a big human being who is very athletic, and he is someone that's improved greatly since we got here. And he's had a very solid fall camp. There's been a lot of competition there at that right tackle position. But we're confident that Noah has the ability to get the job done. Jaquan, really he's been a big positive since we got here. He was someone that had a lot of other opportunities in the recruiting process. But was fairly solid with East Carolina when I got the job. We worked very hard to solidify that. His high school coach and I go back all the way back to my days of coaching high school football at T.C. Robertson, and so certainly I think that relationship helped because Adrian knows me personally, knows how I'm going to treat the players, so he knew what kind of environment Jaquan would be in. But he has been everything we could have asked for. He's a great competitor, very talented player. And I think plays with a lot more composure than the typical freshman that you would see.
They announced yesterday in the case that starts for them.
Right.
What have you seen on film? What do you see from him that's going to be an issue?
We did kind of anticipate that he was going to be the one. We've watched film of him from last year. I know that he didn't play a ton last year, but still. He was impressive in the opportunities he had to get in different games along the way. We watched the spring game pretty closely. The thing that stands out to me, number one, he is a legitimate dual threat guy, very athletic, runs well. As far as him as a passer, you can see why. You can see from the spring game why they like him. He has a very quick release, compact throwing motion. Throws with good accuracy, so you put him in an offense like that, he has the ability to run it, he has the ability to throw in the RPO game. So I'm sure they feel like he gives them the best opportunity to win with all the other weapons that they have around him on the offensive side.
Coach, it was announced that the game was a sellout, big rival game,
exciting.
sellout atmosphere, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Is there a better way to start out an era, I guess, at a school?
Yeah, in Dowdy Ficklin with a sellout. That would be the perfect way to start it out. So outside of that, to be against an opponent that I do think both fan bases consider a rivalry and a sellout crowd in the opener, it's going to be a hostile environment. I like that. Our teams in the past over the years have played well in those kinds of environments. Hopefully we'll have this team prepared to play well this Saturday, but it'll be an exciting venue, and that's it's what you prepare for. That's why you coach. That's why you play. You get excited for games like this. So we're looking really forward to it.
Are you nervous at all about Saturday?
I will be, but you're always nervous to a degree, but at the same time, those jitters are more anticipation. We've put a lot of work in. We've got a lot invested so far, but we want to really get an opportunity to see just exactly where we are. We think we have certain things that we're going to do well, but until you face an opponent, and especially one that's as talented as what NC State is, there is a little bit of unknown. But we're excited to get out there and play, and I'm sure as we stand in the tunnel there, right at the end of the end zone, getting ready to take the field on Saturday, there'll be a lot of nerves. But most of those nerves are going to be excitement and anticipation and just ready to go out there and play.
When you look at your group in the secondary, talk about the progress that they've made so far in this first game.
Well, I think anytime you're installing a new system, it takes some time to learn to gel together, especially on the back end. Obviously we have about as much experience as you're going to ever find anywhere with Coach Trott and his background coaching secondaries and putting together defenses. And so, his knowledge has been a benefit to not only those players back there, but also to Coach Lynch. Coach Lynch and I date back to the beginning of his coaching career. And the first thing I told him whenever I took over the program is, this is someone that you can learn a lot from and develop and continue to grow as a position coach. And so I think, them working together with the combination of young and older players that we have there in the secondary, they've come a long way since the beginning.
Coach, you got a reputation for some pretty passionate pregame speeches. Have you thought about what you'll
No.
hear that just come
Those things really are a culmination of, what the team and I talk about throughout the week. They're not really scripted. I talked to somebody the other day and they were asking about it, and I said there's been one in my past that was kind of choreographed, and it was kind of a special situation right there and a special set of circumstances. But they're all built on just kind of some themes from the week. Most of them revolve around how we want to play a certain ball game. There's a certain game plan. There's a certain identity that we want to establish in that game, whatever it is. Those very much come from the heart. So, it'll be an exciting time, first time in the locker room with our team. We're going to have a lot of firsts, and, hopefully we have some positive things to really pull from coming out of this game.
Coach, what will Friday and Saturday be like as far as travel, busing, and all that stuff, with it being so close?
We'll get together about midday Friday, and we'll do our walk-through meetings here before we head over to Raleigh. And we'll get there, about an hour or so before dinner, and then we have some meetings post-dinner. I do want to get the kids in bed pretty early Friday night with a 12 o'clock kickoff, because Saturday morning when they wake up, it's going to come pretty fast, and you get pregame meal at 8 a.m. That kind of that tells you, exactly how quickly you got to wake up and be ready to go. So, they've got to be fairly prepared to play Friday night. And we'll work on that throughout the week. And I've been over kind of with the players, kind of how we want them to prepare both mentally and physically throughout the week. It's not something you just flip a switch on Friday. It's a preparation that starts on Sunday, but really kicks into gear today. But it'll be a fast morning Saturday morning, but it'll be an exciting one.
What about the heat that's part of that? If week one is that, how do you prepare for that? Is it just kind of play out Saturday afternoon as far as depth or hydration?
Now you better prepare for it, and so it's something that we do have a lot of experience with. Coaching in Charleston, South Carolina, we had to deal with it just about year round. And so I thought we were very well prepared last year at James Madison going into that game. You know, thinking back, we had 2 players that had some minor cramping issues in the second half, but really our roster handled it pretty well. We've tried to do a good job preparing throughout preseason camp. I think the afternoon practices last week and this week will help prepare the players for the heat. We do have a little bit of a calmer kind of climate right now this week, and it's not looking quite as hot on Saturday as what we had last year for the kickoff. But even that being said, first game jitters, guys get amped up for the first game, so that sometimes complicates some of the dehydration stuff. So we have a system for our guys with how they hydrate Thursday, Friday going in. We have hydration testing on Friday before our team meetings, and then anybody that's underhydrated has a specific prescription for the next 24 hours to make sure that they're well hydrated prior to kickoff.
Coach, ECU will be successful Saturday, but what happens?
I think if we, in a one-statement kind of deal, if we do the things that good football teams do, and in saying that, what that means, and I defined it for the players Sunday, in opening games, turnovers, penalties, special teams, and big mistakes. Those are the things that, you'll see sometimes when you see a sloppy performance in an opener. So it's really got to be the point of emphasis this week in practice, and that's what we talked about as a staff this morning. We've got to do a great job with ball security this week, really be on it execution-wise, both sides, have great communication, both on the offensive front, quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, back end on the defense. We've got to be really sound with our run fits. We've got to really do a great job this week with the special teams phase. Their punt returner, Thayer Thomas, he had a solid game against us last year. I think he is a very dynamic returner back there. He averaged almost 10 yards a return last year. We've got to do a good job keeping him bottled up. So it's just doing the things that good football teams do, but there's a lot that goes into that.
For your players that were part of last year's game at the finale, would you rather them forget about that because it's obviously 2 different teams that doesn't have anything to do with what's coming Saturday, or do you want them to remember how they felt at the end of that game at Carter Finley?
I think a little of both. I mean, how can you not be motivated by that? Every year's a new year and every team's a new team. And certainly this team and this program is at a different point than it was last December. Their program is too, because each year, what you did in the past is kind of out the window. So I hope that they never forget what that feels like, because, that can be a motivating factor as well. I think they have an opportunity to go out and show what they truly are. I think we have an opportunity to go out and show that that's not how our program is going to be identified or remembered. But certainly, there's a big challenge in front of us Saturday. So they've got to forget how they played. They got to forget kind of the identity of that team in the past, and got to really embrace what we are and what we're trying to become.
Given that it's the first week, as far as offensive play calling, will you script a whole lot going into it, or kind of see how the first quarter or so plays out?
We've done it both ways in the past. Donnie will have the first couple of plays kind of where he wants to go direction-wise, but after that, the situation and the style of game that it turns out to be is really going to dictate a lot of that stuff. And as I've said many times, right now we don't know for sure how they're going to try to defend us. We think we know based on our research and what we've seen from them in the past. But there's been it's been 8 and almost 9 months since we've seen anything from that program, on film against another opponent. So, we got to kind of see how they're going to try to defend us as far as, what direction we go with the play calling.
Coach, how important is it to run the football and control the clock and that kind of thing?
Well, I think both of us, as far as coaches go, have, kind of a mindset of we want to be able to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. I mean, you look at, Coach Dorn's had a lot of success. And his teams have always been able to run the football effectively. They've had 3 straight years of 1,000-yard rushers there, and they've always been solid against the run defensively. So I think that's something that we want to do. It's something that they want to do. So you're kind of going to have a clash of titans to a degree from that standpoint. But I do think it's very important for us to be balanced. I think in order for us to throw the ball effectively, we're going to need to run the ball effectively, and vice versa on defense. You know, I think we're going to have to do a great job of stopping their run or slowing them down in order to have an effective day on that side of the ball.
Coach, special teams always seems to play a role in these types of games, and I know you're very confident in Jake Verity. Have you figured out maybe, or will it be a game day kind of decision on where and how far you trust him?
I think that Jake is very, very talented, and I think a lot of that depends on a lot of different factors. What point in the ball game is it? You know, what's the situation? You know, weather conditions, things like that. But Jake does have you know, really good range and very good accuracy, so he does give us a legitimate weapon.
Coach, you talked a lot about the receiver competition all preseason. What kind of allowed the guys who at least are going to get the start Saturday to get that spot going in the first game?
Well, I think a combination, a little bit of, you know, you look at them, they're all guys that are, you know, a little bit older. You know, Blake's, you know, redshirt sophomore, but still he's been in the program for a couple of years now. But I think those guys that are slated there as the starters were the ones that were the most consistent throughout preseason camp. And certainly when we got here in the spring, there was some inconsistency with a couple of them. But I think you look at them as a whole, they're the guys that were there every day, practiced every day, you know, caught the ball consistently, blocked consistently, worked consistently. And so I think it's just a culmination of what they put together during preseason camp.
Anyone else? Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks a lot. Looking forward to Saturday. Go Pirates.